You're listening to One Bright Star's Life After Loss, a podcast that's focused on the lifelong journey of life after loss, with your hosts Erica Fisher and Alicia Moore. One Bright Star's Life After Loss podcast is sponsored by the law firm of Burkholz and Associates. And now, One Bright Star's Life After Loss podcast.
Hello and welcome to One Bright Star's Life After Loss podcast. I'm Erica Fisher, Executive Director with One Bright Star.
And Alicia Moore, President of One Bright Star.
And today we have special guest Joan with us. Hi, Joan.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here with us. It's taken us a while. Mother Nature didn't want us to do this.
No, it sure didn't, but I appreciate you hanging in there.
Absolutely. So, Joan, a little bit about why you're here. You're here to talk about your son, Jeremy. Can you tell me about Jeremy?
Yes. My son, Jeremy, died in August of 2019. Jeremy was an Iraq veteran, and he struggled. And that's all I ever have to say, and people know from there what's happened. I don't have a problem actually saying the word suicide or that he had mental illness. I just usually don't ever have to say it. A veteran who struggled is pretty clear. It's pretty clear and it's pretty uncomfortable. And although it's common for people to say, let's talk about it, that hasn't been my reality or that hasn't been my experience. Suicide, in my experience, and especially veteran suicide, is very uncomfortable, and I can clear a room pretty quick.
Okay. Yes.
So when Erica and I started talking about this podcast, what I said to her is, I said, you don't want me. My story doesn't have a happy ending. There's no rainbows. When Jeremy's life ended, so too did many relationships that I had with friends and family. I found some sympathy, of course, quite a bit right away in the beginning, but there's really been a little empathy. To me, it has been the loneliest experience of my life. For me and my husband, we have each other and a couple of old cats, but that's about it. So,
Joan, tell us about Jeremy did he have a family as well?
Yes. He has a son. Our grandson Wyatt is 14 now. He was 11 when he lost his
11.
dad.
Okay. And how long had Jeremy been in Iraq?
Jeremy was in Iraq in, somebody might have to correct me here. Somebody out there will know. I believe it was 2006 and 2007. There was a large group of southern Minnesota, the Red Bulls, deployed from southern Minnesota. He was with that group. Jeremy belonged to the National Guard. He joined the National Guard after high school. He wasn't sure kind of which direction he wanted to go, and he was looking at the military. And then September 11th happened, and then it was go time for him. Then he definitely knew he wanted to do the militaries. So he did 12 years in the National Guard.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. And he was home. How long had he been home before his death? Approximately.
12 years.
He struggled for a long time. And as a mom, you saw that. You knew that. You lived that for so many years.
Yes.
And I remember seeing, I went out on Facebook because I did see, I believe you have a memorialized account on Facebook.
Yes.
Which I didn't even know you could do until I looked on Jeremy's, and I thought that was the neatest thing ever. But I really liked, he did, was it here in town or was it in New Ulm? There was a special award ceremony, and I know that he and Sean, I believe, were on there. Did he get a special award, or he did something? Maybe there was a park that was...
you're seeing the Veterans Memorial Park in Sleepy Eye.
Oh, it's in Sleepy Eye. Okay.
Sure. Yes, that's what you're seeing. Jeremy got real involved for a while. He was the commander of the local VFW, and he was real involved He was involved in the local veterans group, including he would go into the schools and do Veterans Day speaking. He always was doing Memorial Day tributes or speaking like that. Actually, this is something I say about Jeremy, is I believe Jeremy didn't want to die, but I believe he didn't know how to live. And the reason I say that is because after he was gone and I was poking around and looking at his laptop, I found that he had designed himself business cards. He was going to call, he wanted to do public speaking. He wanted to talk about his depression. He wanted to talk about his struggles in the military. He wanted to talk about what was good in the military, what resources he could use. And he had made business cards, and he wanted to call himself Power in the Ranks. And he had put on paper dialogue about some of his struggles or struggles that he knew other veterans were doing. And his ultimate goal was he wanted to do TED Talks. Wanted to go around and he wanted to talk about what his struggles were. So when I say, I don't think he wanted to die. He just was lost, and he was struggling, and his mental illness was taking over, and he didn't know how to live anymore.
And I think I like the way you put that, was that he didn't want to die, but he didn't know how to live. He sounds like someone that wanted to help people so much, and he already had. He'd served his country. He had done so much. He comes back. He continues to be involved with the local legions and in the ceremonies. He is honoring other veterans that have gone off and served. He is having struggles that he wants to share with other people because he knows that he's not alone, and he wants them to not feel alone. And what's really too bad, Joan, is that now you're feeling alone because of everything that happens when our children are involved in the service, and they have these struggles. And it sounds like, as I said, that Jeremy really wanted to help people. He had some great plans, and that should make you feel so proud.
It does.
Yes.
It does. I'm really proud. When I talk to other soldiers, men and women that he served with, he was a leader. I've heard the stories of something he said or did change their lives or stay stuck with them. There's a young lady that said that he changed her life by the recommendation letter that he wrote for her that got her into the career that she wanted. So I do think there was a lot more things that he wanted to do.
Right.
The mental illness, the PTSD,
yes,
just got in the way of those things for him.
And it gets to be so much, but you're talking about, the things that Jeremy did, the people that he touched. He was a big deal. It sounds like he was out there doing a lot. I also saw, I believe it was on Facebook, you have the bands that were out there, and they were Believe, Courage, and My Story Isn't Over.
Last year, on the anniversary of Jeremy's death, which would have been the third year, the first year I think I didn't do anything, probably didn't get out of bed that day. The second year, maybe a little bit more than that.
Okay.
Might have gotten up and combed my hair or made an attempt to do something on that anniversary date.
Yes.
And on the third year, I thought, I'm going to do something different. And I actually took it some of it from somebody else, a group I belong to online, of other parents who have lost their kids to suicide. And it was sharing about it was doing random acts of kindness. So I bought the bracelets that had all the encouraging things.
Yes.
And I got a bunch of little succulent plants, and I had my favorite cookie lady do all the cookies, and she did a flag, and she did cookies that said "You matter" and "Be kind," with, I think it was 5 or 6 different cookies. And I had my favorite cookie lady do all the cookies, and she did a flag, and she did cookies that said "You matter" and "Be kind," with, I think it was 5 or 6 different cookies. And I had my favorite cookie lady do all the cookies, and she did a flag, and she did cookies that said "You matter" And then she did one that was like a dog tag with his name. So I made these little baskets, and I went around his hometown on the anniversary of his death.
Yes.
And I passed out these little baskets that had the cookies and the plant and the encouraging bracelets, along with a little card that said, "I'm doing this in memory of Jeremy. It's an act of kindness. Please do an act of kindness of your own and leave this card for the next person to remind them."
I love that.
That's so wonderful.
It was. I can't. It's like, oh no, how am I going to top that? This year?
Right.
But maybe it just becomes an annual.
I was just going to say.
Annual thing, because it really went over well.
Yes. Is his hometown Sleepy Eye?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's just wonderful.
Yes.
I love it that you did it on the date of his death, and it just reminds everyone that you're not forgetting him, and my story isn't over. And then to pass on that act of kindness, what's great is that you're proactive. Some people say, pass it on, do this, do that. You did it. And then you told people to go ahead and do it, because then as the receiver, they realize how good that felt to get a neat little basket with a succulent and some cookies and things like that. And it's like, you know what, it made their day, but it really made your day. I think it's wonderful that you did that in his memory.
Yeah, thank you.
Something else I saw, I'm just going to kind of go here because you just had the neatest stuff out there. A phone booth. And there was a picture, it was a picture of you in the phone booth, and it said, "Hello from the other side." And Erica and I have a little story with that, and I know Erica is going to share it, but I'm assuming that it was you calling him.
Well, that's, the phone, that's an Adele song, "Hello from the Other Side."
Oh,
do you want me to
I didn't
sing
even
it?
know that. No.
I have, like, I could pretend.
Okay. Now that you guys say that, yes, it
I
is.
must have
Okay.
called 1,000 times.
Yes. Oh, now when you say that, okay.
Yeah.
Takes me a little while. Sorry, Joan. But
Oh, no, that's okay.
the phone booth idea is really neat. Tell us about that.
It was just a way to pick up and just call him and just call heaven and say, "Hey,
I miss you.
How are you?
I miss you a lot."
And I can do that. I can do that anywhere I am at any time.
Yes.
I just thought the phone booth was symbolic. I'm all for symbolism
Yes.
and finding the signs and finding the meaning.
Oh,
we are
that's
big
great.
into we
Yes.
love hearing about the signs.
Yeah.
You should tell her about the phone booth.
Yes, One Bright Star is actually, so I got involved with Nick Blue Cares, and that's, you familiar?
Yes.
So Lynn Waterbury,
Yes.
one of the committee members brought up the phone booth, and somebody, I think it was in Japan,
Yes, I believe so.
had this phone booth and a way for him to communicate with heaven. And it was just in a garden kind of thing, and One Bright Star would love to have one of those at our memorial, a phone booth.
Oh,
We're actually considering it. And so we had to kind of table the plans, but we believe that it's probably going to come back up here now in the next year or two. We do our strategic plan. So when we saw you doing that, we're just like, okay, when you talked about the symbolism and that stuff, this is
That's a
what we
sign.
need to do. It's a sign.
That's really funny, because that picture is a few years old. And in that time, I decided to completely embrace my hair color.
Okay.
That's changing as I age.
Okay.
So I told my husband, Sean, that picture's taken at the Minnesota largest candy store.
Oh, sure.
And I
okay.
told Sean, we've got to go up there and do another one with my... It just looks old to me now.
Okay.
You're evolving.
That's
I'm
right.
evolving.
That's right.
And I just want an evolved picture in the
Evolving
phone
and
the phone
embracing.
booth.
Yes.
And
I
I
love
need to
it.
find another song.
There you go. There you go.
I'll start thinking
Oh,
of a
that's
song,
good.
and then we'll practice singing
Yeah,
it.
sounds great.
Awesome, Joan. I know when I talked to you about coming onto the podcast, and you said, "Nope, not for me. My story's not pretty."
Right.
And what did I say to you? I said, that's even more of a reason for you to share your story, because people want to hear the reality. They need the rawness, because more than likely they're probably feeling the same thing too. Not
Sure.
everything is always rainbows and butterflies.
Sure. It has been a lonely experience. And I'd just like to share a little bit just what I've learned, and I want to say this is my story and this is my experience. But the loneliness of all of it has been a little bit of an irony for me, because I have a phone full of messages that tell me I'm not alone, I'm here for you, just reach out. And when I do, I find that I get very little response to that. People's schedules are busy. We'll get together when I'm on a different shift at work, or when baseball season is over, or and I get that people are busy. I don't have a lot going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I find that it really gets to be just real lonely. And I would just like to remind people that if your grieving person is reaching out and you have said that you're going to be there, make time to be there. It's tough.
That's a good point.
It's tough to reach out. I would make the suggestion to offer specific things, like, I know it's been a crazy week for you. I'm going to have pizza delivered on Friday night. Or it doesn't have to cost anything, like, I know you've been doing a lot of online shopping. Put your boxes by the back door on Saturday and I'll take them to the recycling center. Or let me take your dog for a walk or to the park while you're at your appointments. One of the things I've noticed that comes up over and over again in an online group, in an online grief group that I belong to, is people say, we don't know what you want. What can we do? What do you want? And between some of us, it's become kind of a joke, but not really. We say, show up, bring cake.
Right.
And when we say that, others will laugh and they'll say, oh, haha, that's really cute. Really, what can we do? And we're like, show up.
Bring cake.
Right.
And yes, I know there are people out there that are living this and they want to be left alone, and they might not have an appetite, but I'm telling you, most of the people I talk to are lonely and they're hungry.
Right. Yes. That's a good one, Joan. I do like that. When you mention, you could walk the dog, or you have some really good examples. How about they could just come over and take the dog for a walk with you, because you just want to talk. And sometimes people don't need to have all the answers. And I think that's what Eric and I have learned a lot from doing these podcasts, from visiting with wonderful parents such as yourself. And what we've learned is that we don't have to have the answers.
We don't have to fix it.
Right. Just holding space.
Mm-hmm. Holding space is absolutely
Yes.
Holding space and acknowledging that this is pretty awful.
Yes.
It is awful. It is a shitty experience.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
There's no sugarcoating that.
No.
And so I find sometimes when I reach out and sharing my struggles, I often get pushed back that, I need to find gratitude. You're not feeling very well, so why don't we just, find some things for you to be grateful for. They'll say, Joan, your husband is awesome. He takes good care of you. You must be so grateful for him. And I am. But none of that takes away from or replaces the incredible loss that
Absolutely.
that Jeremy is.
Right. I mean, there's this huge hole in your heart, and it has to be very difficult to be grateful. You know the blessings you have in your life, but you also know this horrible tragedy, and the struggle that you're having to be able to just to be able to face that every day. Yeah. I mean, you even said when you made the comment about the 1-year anniversary, you weren't even sure if you got out of bed that day. Truly, parents like you are an inspiration to me and give me hope. And I say that because I am so very fortunate, just like Erica, we have not lost a child. But when I meet people like you that are, and life is not easy, but you do somehow get up and get going. Some days are more difficult than others, but you give us hope and you give us courage. And if that unimaginable were to happen, I know that there's people I can lean on, and I know that I will be able to get through it because others are making the effort every day to get through it. Some days are really very difficult. There's days I don't want to get out of bed and I'm lazy, and I will think of the moms and dads that have so much more to deal with. And so you are an amazing person who right now, like you said, it's very real. You're feeling alone, and it's hard to be grateful for the things you have because you're struggling with what you don't have.
Sure. I am absolutely grateful. The platitudes, and that we could do a whole podcast on platitudes.
Right.
But be grateful for the time you had with him. I absolutely am. I wouldn't change. Knowing how it ends,
right.
I still wouldn't change it.
Right.
But I'm still, part of me is always going to be mad
that he's not here.
That he's not
right.
here. I don't need gratitude to take away. I can carry both.
Yes.
I am learning to balance both.
That's a really good point.
I can be happy. I can be happy telling a joke, popping off my quick wit, all while carrying this incredible sadness.
Yes.
Some days I balance them well, and some days I don't.
Some days you don't.
That's
right.
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that we've had other parents that we've talked to too, and you make a really good point that you carry both of them. You're always going to have that hole in your heart. And you're always going to have that. Right now, you're feeling, like you said earlier, angry. You had mentioned that before. There's days when it's just so not fair. But then, like you said, then there's days where you're like, today is not such a bad day. Everybody's journey is so different.
Yep.
And you're sharing how real and raw, as we've talked about before, these tragedies are. And it doesn't, like you said, you wouldn't change anything for the time that you did have with Jeremy, but the things that he's missing out, that he's missing out with his son and that stuff, darn it, that's hard. Every day that is hard.
I'd be mad too. I'm mad with you.
Right. The one thing I commend you is that you're talking about it. And you do the online, you're connecting with people, but you're also kind of teaching some of us and reminding us that, after, the days and weeks after the funeral and that stuff, don't forget about the people that have just had that loss, because it is with you every single day now. And some people say, I remember, and I don't want to be too cliche here, but people say, with time, it doesn't matter. I mean, we hear people say that, it's been 10 years and it feels like yesterday. And so it is so very difficult. But you're just reminding all of us that we need to follow through when we say we're going to do something, and then remember and ask about Jeremy.
Yes.
I hope that people ask about him.
Yes. Erica, when I first met you, the second time we met, and then we met again, and you remembered his name. And that just means so much to my heart to hear his name, because people talk about their kids all the time.
Yes, absolutely.
And I want to talk about mine too.
Yes.
Just because his earthly story has ended doesn't mean there's not a whole lot more that I can tell you.
Right. That's
Absolutely.
really good. And Erica is one of the best people for remembering children's names, people's names, children's names.
I can't remember my own kids sometimes, but...
But no, she does a wonderful job, and you're absolutely right. When someone asks you about Jeremy, we always are talking about our kids, our grandkids, and that stuff, and it's even more important when you've lost a child. It doesn't matter their age or their circumstance. You still want to talk about them. We remember. So, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's our job to honor, remember, and carry on their name.
And you had made a comment earlier, and I just want to elaborate on that. I don't, for those out there that are waiting for me to get over this, I don't intend on ever getting over this.
No.
Right.
How could you?
Right. Right.
It's not gonna. I'm not gonna carry it.
You carry it. I feel like you have to carry it however you carry it that day,
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's never the same.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because your grief,
Thank you.
your grief is there no matter what, but sometimes it can hit you at different levels,
Right.
and so you have to handle it
Right.
as it comes.
Right. And everybody's circumstance is different. Some are maybe more tragic than others, but we're all going to deal with grief.
Yes.
And we need to start talking about it. And we need to realize that it isn't just, okay, I'm going to go through the stages of grief and I'm going to be angry and then I'm going to be accepting and then I'm going to be this or that. And now that I've checked off those boxes, it's all done.
No, you're going to probably
And
go to those
now
steps 5 times.
I kind of joke that people are waiting for me to put on lipstick and go out. It's like, oh, she's wearing lipstick and she's dressed up. She must be over it. We don't have to talk about it anymore.
No.
And I'm just going to keep talking about it.
Absolutely.
And that's what we want you to do.
Yes.
That's why we're here. And Erica has been involved with Nick Blue Cares and those. We want to talk. We don't want to forget. And we want people to know that they're not alone. And you know what? We still want to see you wearing lipstick. And we want to talk about Jeremy when you're all dressed up and jazzed up and ready to go.
Of
yes.
course, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, and you make a really good point, Joan. Our goal is, and it's so much with compassionate communities and death doulas. There was just something in the paper. We need to talk about death because you are right. We are all going to experience
grief.
it. Yes. Unfortunately, we have some parents, such as yourself, that have had to experience that out of order death. And no parent should ever have to bury their child. Right. And so we want people to feel comfortable. And I know that when I first got on the board and I would talk to some parents, and if we would talk about their child and they would start to cry, I would feel bad and I would say, I'm sorry. And Linda was always really good, and she would tell us,
taught us.
Those are cleansing tears. She said, I want you to ask me about Johnny. I want to talk about him. So that's why when you came in today and before we even started recording, I asked you how old Jeremy would be now. And so we need to get to that point where you're kind of like, oh, it's his 42nd birthday this October, same month as Erica, and and so that it does.
Didn't really want you to tell anybody that I'm going to be 42 though.
But I didn't tell them that. I only said that same month.
Oh shoot! I just told on myself.
But no, you're making some really good points, and we really appreciate you sharing that because it is it's important. It's got to be really painful
to share.
Yes, when you're in the situation that you're in, and you're just not feeling that you're getting the support, and you feel like you need to explain it, and hopefully society is going to start understanding you don't need to explain it. You can deal with, and we've had people say, all those different stages that are out there, they don't go in a certain order. They don't come at a certain time. Erica said they can come 5 times. Everybody's different, and you've said that. And so, yes.
Right.
It's your own journey.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I want people to understand that there isn't always a rainbow in the end. I've done a lot of therapy throughout this time, and one of the things that sticks with me that my therapist have said, and if I can give a shout out to Lori and Kelly at the New Ulm Wellness Collective Center, I've gotten some awesome therapy with them throughout this. I say they effectively guide me on this journey, but what they tell me that sticks with me the most is I don't have to find the rainbow. In this, losing Jeremy can always be shitty.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, that was really accepting for me, or just really awakening, because I feel like society, you said society, I was going to be careful about choosing my words.
Okay, well,
yes. They want you to find I use the word rainbow, the positive. They want there to be tributes and fundraisers and matching T-shirts and balloons. And that just isn't always the case for everybody.
I think, a lot of times, anytime someone is hurt, we want them to heal. And we really hope that you can get to that, you can do that healing and then come to, and I don't know if acceptance is the word because it's so hard. Healing happens continuously. And you even said you have to balance between that joy and that grief. They're always going to live together. They're always going to be together in your life. And sometimes the balance is there and sometimes it's really off. But I can see absolutely what you're saying as far as you talk about the rainbows and being able to, get through this and that stuff. And it's a journey. And it's a journey. And every day you learn something, and some days are just so much more difficult. But you just don't want to be alone.
Right.
And no matter what, it's your journey. There's no
Right.
right or wrong way to go about your journey. It's your road. Your
Right.
heart.
My story.
Your story. Yes.
Your truth.
Yep. And your story isn't over. And
No.
Jeremy's isn't either.
No. And, and a shout out also to One Bright Star that's given me some tools where I'm not feeling as alone as I was at one time.
Good. Well, thank you.
We are happy
yes.
about
That's
that.
what we are
Yeah.
supposed to be, as a
Yes.
resource for families. And we want to thank you for being willing to share, your raw feelings today about this, because some people, it's anybody that's come on is always, and we kind of told you that they're really nervous when they come on. And sometimes when you get talking, it's really difficult. The subject matter that we're talking about, it's grief, it's loss, it's your heart being ripped out. And it's kind of like, you're sharing some guidance for other people out there. As Erica said, there's people that are feeling some of these same things, and people are going to listen to this and they're going to be saying, I can so relate to that mom. And so you're helping them know that they're not alone too.
They might
And
call
so-
you and want some cake.
Everybody bring cake.
Cake.
I want cake.
I like
I
that.
haven't
I
stopped
think that's
thinking
great.
about cake since you said it. I am hungry for some cake. So, Joan,
Right.
you ready to go get some cake?
That's
I
right.
think so,
That's
yeah.
right. And I love it that you have the
Yes.
humor. And so thank you in all of this, in the grief and that stuff. You've been able to find some humor,
Yeah.
some joy among friends, because you need to get through every day too.
Jeremy
So-
would find humor in some of
Okay.
this also. So
Good.
just
Good.
kind of continuing down our path together.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Little
Yes.
bit it's different now.
It's different. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you very
Yes.
much. We really appreciated you coming today and visiting with us and sharing your story
Thank
Yes,
and your
and
story about Jeremy.
We will
So,
ask you back.
Yes.
I will come back.
Okay, good.
I was like, oh,
Thank
she gave
you.
me that look. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Joan.
Joan.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to One Bright Star's Life After Loss podcast. Life After Loss is a copyrighted production of One Bright Star. One Bright Star's Life After Loss podcast is sponsored by the law firm of Burkholz and Associates. For more information on the lifelong journey after losing a loved one, please visit our website at onebrightstar.org.